Hello, this is Dr. Borszewski. Thank you for logging in to our presentation that we presented at our community forum on October 22nd at Washington School. I am excited to share our current plans to address the issues we are facing, as well as go over a little bit of the history on what led us to this point. This quote is lifted right from our District 81 mission statement. We do believe it is our responsibility to ensure success in all areas of development. We also understand that this is a shared responsibility among schools, students, families, and our larger community. We are certainly dedicated to providing a child-centered environment, and we are hopeful you are as well. Enrollment has been on the rise in District 81 since 2015, which is supported by this image that shows enrollment history at Washington School. Currently, the largest student cohorts are located at Washington School. Historically, 125 students at a grade level was considered a large cohort. However, currently, we have 148 fourth graders and 175 fifth graders attending Washington School every day. The average cohort size across the district is 145 students based on today's enrollment. A little bit of the history can be found in this timeline. The Board of Education hired DLA architects back in November of 2014. At that time, the board directed DLA to conduct a facilities assessment of all three schools. In March of 2015, DLA provided direction to the school district to update the fire alarm system at Washington School and secure the entrances at both Kennedy and Washington School. Before this project, when you buzzed into a building, you entered straight into the lobby of the school. After this project, you buzz into a secure vestibule, and then you get buzzed into an office, and you are not allowed into the building without being buzzed out of that office. An important component of the facilities assessment was a curriculum review, which was conducted in July of 2015. DLA met with our teachers and building administrators to determine if our current practice of delivering instruction was supported by the buildings that we were learning and teaching in. Out of that study came a capacity study, which I will discuss on the next slide. The board has been discussing different options to address growing enrollment since 2015, and upon completion of those facility assessments, it was determined that the critical need was to address the issues we were facing at Kennedy School, which we have done. When we started discussing Washington School, a meeting was held with village officials back in the fall of 2018. At that time, it was recommended that the board consider purchasing 3 houses on Michigan Avenue south of the school. To date, all 3 of those properties have been purchased by the school district. The board has started discussing a referendum campaign back in May of 2018. You received a letter from me this past September outlining the board's commitment. We are currently hosting community forums with the hopes of passing a referendum in the March 2020 election. As discussed in the curriculum review, a capacity study determined that Washington School, which is considered a traditional design in its current state, is over capacity by 7%. If we tried to provide the same 21st century learning experiences similar to those our students receive at Kennedy and Lincoln School, the building would be over 42% capacity. Please don't misunderstand me. Our teachers are doing an outstanding job providing our students with stellar learning experiences. However, they simply cannot provide the collaborative and innovative experiences that our students receive at Lincoln and Kennedy School due to space constraints. The purpose of this project at Washington is multifaceted. The board is attempting to address enrollment issues, infrastructure needs, as well as staying committed to providing equitable learning spaces for all students across all 3 schools. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so hopefully these next few slides will help you see the inequity we are attempting to address with this plan for Washington School. On this slide, you see classroom spaces at all 3 buildings. You'll notice that Kennedy and Lincoln both have a tremendous amount of natural light that spills into their classrooms. They're also very colorful and playful, age-appropriate spaces. The middle image is a classroom at Washington School with very little natural light and not much flexibility in its space. At Washington School, we are currently using repurposed lockers from Kennedy and Lincoln School. We have original casework in the classrooms from 1967, and due to space constraints, it's very difficult to provide our students with flexible seating. The lockers that are in the corridor of this building were repurposed from the original Lincoln Middle School. And recently, because our enrollment has grown, we've had to move lockers that were at Kennedy School into Washington School classrooms. Half of the students have lockers inside the classroom, and half of the students have lockers in the corridor. This image represents our reading rooms. All 3 schools have a reading room program. Kennedy's reading room and Lincoln's reading room are both located on the 2nd floor of the school and a place of prominence in the building. High ceilings and natural light with large flexible spaces are shown in these images. However, at Washington School, we've run out of space, so our reading room teachers deliver that instruction on a cart. 21st century schools offer spaces for students to collaborate and participate in innovative activities, whether they're outside on the rooftop, as you see here at Lincoln, or in small breakout spaces or large project spaces. Children are given opportunities to learn and move outside of the traditional classroom throughout their school day. I can't show you spaces such as this at Washington School because they're simply not available. This image represents our music programs at all 3 schools. Kennedy's music room is in the new addition that we put up in 2016. You see a large playful space with much natural light spilling in and opportunities for our kids to move. The band room at Lincoln is also a very large flexible space where students have band lessons. We host senior lunches. The space can be used for many different things. Washington students receive band lessons in a makeshift room that used to be a custodial closet. The art rooms at both Kennedy and Lincoln School are on the main floor of the building. In these 2 schools, Lincoln doesn't have a basement. Kennedy, although they have a basement, students are not ever down there for learning. It is a place for storage. Washington School students have art, music, band, and media center in the basement. This is a picture of the Washington School art room sandwiched in between 2 21st century art classrooms. Washington School does not have a designated gym. They have what we call a multi-purpose room. The room is where they go for their PE class, but that's also a room where we store music equipment and the students eat lunch. While Kennedy and Lincoln School both have designated gymnasiums that are large open spaces with, again, natural light and high ceilings, and also age-appropriate aesthetics. This is just another image of the Washington School multi-purpose room when the students are having lunch, and a show in the center is where we're storing our music equipment. These are the 3 different lunchrooms, both Lincoln and Kennedy having a separate space for lunch, and again, Washington students eating lunch in the same space that they have gym. Our arrival and dismissal procedures at both Kennedy and Lincoln School allow us the opportunity to have a designated bus lane and a parent pickup and drop-off lane. We don't have that at Washington School, so this year we've decided to have our buses pull onto our playground area off of Michigan and then back out onto Forster. Although this is working, it's not ideal because when our students get off the bus, they have to walk in front of the buses to the place where they stage in the morning and line up in the courtyard next to the dumpsters. As you can see, this is not an ideal arrangement that we are facing at Washington School in its current condition. The next slide will be Eric Sickbert going over the facilities assessment and the outcome of that. For the purpose of this presentation, Eric will be sharing information regarding the opportunity to perhaps build a new school since we've acquired the properties on Michigan Avenue. However, at this time, we cannot say with certainty that that's the plan because we're waiting on MWRD's approval for storage, for water detention storage during construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borzinski. DLA was hired in 2013 to be the district architects, and one of our first responsibilities was to take care of some life safety issues for both Kennedy and for Washington School. We were also charged to do a couple of miscellaneous mechanical and maintenance issues throughout the district. We were also charged at that time to do facilities assessment reports for all the facilities. We were hired to do the assessment study for the entire district, so we did go for all 3 schools, Lincoln, Kennedy, and Washington. It was found out that through that report, looking not only at the facilities and determining how the condition of the facilities are, we also took a look at life safety issues. Schools are required to do 10-year surveys, but there were some issues, and it had been a while since the last life safety survey had been taken care of. So basically, the assessment report brings all of these elements into one document so the district can have a better management capability with the things that they're going to have to be taken care of. So we have life safety, we have facility assessment, we also took a look at curriculum and changes that might affect the facilities, and we also took a look at current and projected capacities for each of the schools. When we did the assessment for the district, we found, when the report was finished, we found that Kennedy was worse off out of all 3 of the schools, and so that's why we addressed that one first. When we came to Washington had, back in 2015, we did discover that they had obviously maintenance issues, and I don't know if anybody has had a furnace in their house. That furnace can last probably 10 to 12 years, and it might cost you $6,000 to $10,000 to replace it. Well, same things happens with school facilities, and they have to start budgeting for these expenditures. But for the schools, there are a lot more money that they're going to have to handle. So good to budget for them and plan for them, so they have several years to collect the funds that are going to be required once that unit does fail. We could say it was like a rooftop unit for a school. Not it's going to be $10,000, but it's going to be probably closer to $100,000+ depending on the type of unit that you're going to be replacing. So we got a lot of big ticket items that we discovered at both Kennedy and Washington. Not anything at Lincoln, since it's still fairly new, but a lot of things at Lincoln and Washington, or at Kennedy and Washington. We're going to focus primarily on Washington tonight, since Kennedy is pretty well been taken care of. And so let's move on to Washington. Next slide we show is the existing site plan as it is currently. As you can see, we had that green buffer area on the Lawrence Avenue, but that's actually playground space for the school, on the green space or grass. And then we have the asphalt, which is a grayed out area in between the school and that green. We have the existing houses that are there that the district has now purchased to allow them a lot more flexibility in the future with how to manage their playground and or activity on the site and or possibly expansion for the school. And then the school itself, and then there's a little bit of parking on the back side of the school. So not a lot of designated parking on the site as it is. Again, very constrained. Not a lot of room for expansion unless you can, because of the different residential on the north side of the school, but also the streets and the major street that's on Lawrence Avenue. We have depicted here the district was trying to relieve some of that congestion problem that those two main arteries on the east and west side of the school were causing for the community. And so they tried to bring in the buses off the street, which works pretty well, getting the buses off the street, but not the ideal because the buses are unloading the kids on the wrong side of the bus. This is the only way to come in onto the site. So kids get dropped off on property, but they have to cross back over in front of the traffic of the buses to get to the sidewalk, then to get to the school. So not ideal, but the district is trying to do what they can with what they have. Moving on to the next slide, you can see that this is the existing building as we reviewed it on our assessment reports back in 2015. The school has 2 floors, one a basement, which is totally underground, and then they have a first floor. The school houses 4th and 5th graders only, but also has some special ed classrooms incorporated into it and 2 reading classrooms because of the curriculum program that this district offers. And then a lot of support space. It has support space and also has a gym / cafeteria combo space. In the basement, you have the media center and library and music and art room. And then up on the first floor, you have all the general classrooms, but also you have the reading rooms and the special ed classrooms. And remember, at this time when we surveyed the building was over capacity, as Kim and Dr. Borzeski had mentioned. Now moving on to the next slide, this is the existing building as it stands now in 2019. You can see as a result of population changes and curriculum changes, what we had mentioned to them back in 2015 came to fruition because they had to do a lot of shifting and moving of spaces to accommodate the students that were coming into the building that they didn't have space for. And basically how they had to add an extra classroom both on the 4th grade and on the 5th grade. So they basically needed 2 new classrooms for the school to be able to accommodate all the kids that they had. What this did was it kicked out the 2 reading rooms that were on the first floor, and they had to be moved into the basement for their storage and for their workspace. But now the reading teaching curriculum was on a cart, and they would move to classroom. Also was added was additional administration because more kids means that they have to be managed in a better way. So that was bringing in another managing assistant manager or principal to assist help with that. Also special ed resources were increased due to the need, and those were all put on the first floor. So that displaced quite a bit. The teachers lost their lounge, they lost their workroom. Those were the special eds went into, and then the janitor's closet was turned into an assistant principal's office. Moving downstairs, that's where everything went. So downstairs, the media center was an unfortunate soul that got chopped down to be able to accommodate all these new spaces, or these these spaces that were being moved from the upstairs down into the basement. So that's where we moved the reading resource area and workroom along with their storage, and then art and music were still down there, but also the teacher's lounge was moved down into the basement in the media center. So now the media center was the full basement on half of it, the gym, about the size of the gym. Now it was chopped into basically maybe a half of the basement. So definitely shrunk in size due to space problems. And that's what we find with schools as they reach 100%. They don't have that flexibility. They need it. And so they find wherever they can to accommodate that. And this district has done that for the last 4 years, trying to make it all work. But we see that this is going to continue to change, but also finding out that there is no way that this district can teach in the Washington school in the curriculum and in the method that they would are wanting to. As Dr. Borjeski had mentioned, we came to the district with a lot of options for them to how to address the capacity issues, but also the parity issues that the Washington school is facing. We took a look at remodeling the existing school and can we squeeze the space out of what you have, and that was definitely not going to be able to happen. We also then took a look at maybe putting in an addition onto the existing school. As Dr. Borzeski had mentioned, it's still up in the air, but the one direction that we're looking, the one thing that you're seeing here tonight is the providing a brand new school, which is a study that we did and discovered that you could do, and actually this is probably the best scenario based on the number of years that it would take to construct. If we go the Kennedy style, as we did, it was very successful, but that land was very tight and conforming, and that's the only option that we did have for that, especially with the time frame that we had to get it done in. But it worked, and it's worked out extremely well. But this school, we would have to do, if we did the addition, we'd have to do it in the same way, so it had to be phased out over 5+ years to be able to accommodate that, because we'd have to ship kids from one place to another as it's being built. But if we went with the new building, then you'd be able to build a brand new building and keep the school operating as the new building was being built. And then once it's finished, tear down the old building, put in the new parking lot, playground area, and such. The only issue with that was that we don't have an answer yet with NWRD. That's our water management people that tell us mandate or regulate how we store water on our site and issue it out into the storm sewers. We've had a preliminary meetings with the city. It's always we have to have their approval to be able to move forward with this project, if it's going to be okay or not, and what we're proposing to do. And the city was all for it, and that was the first hurdle. They're the last ones that have to give us an approval, so we went with them first. Now we're going out to MWRD to see if they're going to be okay with this option or not. They take the NWRD takes a little bit longer than the local municipality of Schiller Park, so we are still in waiting to hear their response if that's going to happen or not. And that will give the school board information that they need to be able to make an intelligent decision on what direction they want to go with the referendum. But as you can see on the site, this is again very conceptual concept of what we want to do for the new building. Do not take this home and say, oh, this is what the building is going to look like. It is not. This is strictly a concept of what could happen. The district wanted to be very efficient with their money. They didn't want to spend a lot of money on architectural fees if this referendum doesn't pass, or if this idea and concept isn't something that the neighborhood or is the best option for the district. They didn't want to spend money on architectural fees, which could be quite extensive, until they had a better definitive answer for that. So They held off on us as far as going into designing something. So, but we did spend some money so that we can get some answers to our issues at hand, which are required. So we did spend some time to figure out how much space is really going to be needed for the new school and how that might fit on the property. So that's what we've done here. So basically, we're going to be moving the new school over onto the south side of the property. This eliminates the issue with the playground being right next to Lawrence Avenue, and basically cuddling the kids in between the residential space and the new building, which is ideal and very easy to supervise. Another issue that we've resolved as far as the problems that are currently on the existing site and that is traffic flow. As you can see, our buses now are still going through the property and unloading the kids, but now the kids can unload on the correct side of the bus. So there's no crossing over of traffic of any kind with the bus drop off. And then also we are it gets those buses off of the street, which helps with that congestion that we have on Michigan Avenue and Forester Avenue. We also are with this site, which we didn't have we wouldn't be able to do on the existing property or in the existing condition that it is now, and that is to bring all the parents, probably not all, but a majority of the parents or quite a few of them off of the street of Michigan Avenue and bring them onto the site, and they can just come around on this curved parking area to drop off the kids and or pick them up and then head on out the street, the same entrance that they came in on. So definitely you'll see some relief in the traffic flows that are occurring around this school if this option is moved forward. We have a larger hard surface playground area, but also we have our green space area, all again easily to supervise, all within just a couple of teachers can supervise both playing areas. Parking is definitely increased with a large parking lot just to the north of the building, and then a strip of parking along the bus lane for more permanent people that are such as teachers and things that are going to stay in the building a long time. Moving on to the next slide. This one depicts is more what we call our massing model. It basically shows you kind of how the building is going to look in a 3D format on the property. And please do not take this facility, this image that you see here of the facility as the final design. It's not even the design or even the start of a design. It is just showing a representation of the mass of what the school would take up. It will be a 2-story facility. Maybe not all of the building, but some of the building will be 2-story. We don't know yet if there will be a basement for the school. But it gives you a good idea of the height of the building in relationship to the residents around them. Gives you an idea of how we've envisioned the buses being pulled in there and being able to drop off the kids in a safe manner and having that buffer between the residents and the buses themselves. So all in all, I think this is, again, just an option that we've reviewed so that we can go to the city and start getting their feeling about if the water management is going to work with this type of an option. And as I mentioned before, they were all okay with this. And so that's where we are now, waiting to hear back from the WRD to the board if their answer, if they're okay with it. Now the board will be able to make a decision on whether they want to go brand new or if they want to add on to the existing building. It's not the only issue on hand as far as it is concerned with the water management and if we go with new or old or a new addition. Also, cost is going to be involved with that, and we do have some data coming up with that as well.
What we have here is a graph of the district's outstanding bonds and how the payments on the $30 million proposed referendum bonds would combine with the district's outstanding debt. So first of all, the district has been fortunate to have both voter support and board directive to improve both Lincoln School and Kennedy School. The blue bars represent the remaining payments on Lincoln School's bonds, And in 2018, those bonds were refunded for interest cost savings and to stabilize the payments on those bonds, because prior to the refunding, they were going to go up. The green bars represent a portion of the funding sources for Kennedy School, which the district used its fund balances and some non-referendum limited tax bonds as represented by those green bars to pay for the renovations at Kennedy School. The yellow bars represent the repayment of the 30 million proposed referendum bonds to bring Washington School up to the standards of the other schools in the district. The 30 million is an amount that is estimated for the cost of the school. The payments, as represented by those yellow bars, reflect interest rates today plus a very conservative cushion of 75 basis points or 0.75%, just in order to be conservative in case interest rates go up. So we feel this is a very conservative view of the cost of the 30 million referendum bonds. Additionally, the district has met with its state reps, Stevens and Marquardt, to discuss the referendum for Washington School. And the good news is that the state reps support the district in this endeavor and also would be willing to support legislation to allow the district to access 30 million, because right now the 30 million number is in excess of the district's statutory debt limit. This page 3 shows the estimated tax impact of the 30 million referendum bonds based on the property market value. So I would mention firstly that the property market value is not necessarily what you could sell your house for, but the number of the market value as shown on your Cook County property tax bill. So for example, for a $200,000 market value home based on the Cook County tax bill, the estimated increase due to the 30 million referendum bonds is $202. For a $250,000 home, it's $266. For a $300,000 home, it's $327. For a $350,000 home, $389. And for a $400,000 home, about $451. So we've also broken this down so you can see the monthly impact of this increase on your property tax bill. In comparison to your total property tax bill, this is a 3.4% increase in taxes paid in 2019. So for the year you just finished paying taxes, if the bond issue is successful, the next impact would be a 3.4% increase over what you just paid this year. That increase would not impact you until the fall of 2021. That's because the bonds would be issued pursuant to a successful referendum in the spring of 2020, and the 2020 tax levy, the first impact of the increase of that doesn't occur until fall of 2021. The bonds would be paid back over 27 years, so these payments after 27 years would disappear. Page 4 looks at how we calculate that 3.4% increase in taxes paid. So the $30 million bond issue will result in an increase in the debt service payments of $1,392,250. That results in a tax rate increase of 42 cents. The total tax rate paid by taxpayers here in 2019 for the tax levied in 2018 is $12.55, as shown in the note. The composite tax rate, note number 1, is $12.55, and also at the bottom of the page. So the 42 cents divided by the $12.55, that's where we get that 3.372% increase. That's also equivalent to $33.72 per thousand of taxes paid. If I can draw your attention to the bottom of the page, we have the total taxes paid in 2019 for the homeowner and the senior owning a home with a market value as shown as on the Cook County tax bill of $209,100. You might ask, where did we come up with that number? So Zillow has a home market value index, and as of September of 2019, that index is $209,100. So that includes the median home value for homes and condominiums. We calculate the annual tax impact by using the Cook County formula of 10% of the residential market value times the Cook County market multiplier, which is 2.9109, times the equalized assessed value of the home, and that then we deduct the homeowner deduction of $10,000, which is the same for every homeowner in the district, and $18,000 in the case of a senior. Senior citizens who are 65 before the time of the tax bill may avail themselves of an additional $8,000 deduction from their property taxes. So then we take that equalized assessed value times the composite tax rate for Schiller Park to get the average tax bill of a homeowner in Schiller Park is $6,386. The chart shows taxes paid in 2018 levy year, 2019 year taxes paid. So you can see we've got all levels of annual tax bills from $1,000 up to $20,000. So most people know how much taxes you paid the year before. The market value of your home as you understand it may not be the same as a Cook County assessor understands it. So that's why we're focusing on taxes paid. And you can see for the homeowner of a $209,100 home, the impact on your tax, the tax increase due to the bonds will be $215.36 as shown in the yellow band. And for a senior with the same $209,000 home, the impact of these bonds will be $181.49. So again, a 3.4% estimated increase due to the bond. If we go to the next page, we want to talk a little bit about the Leiden Township reassessment, or really the overall Cook County reassessment. 2019 is a triennial reassessment year, and our new Cook County assessor, Fritz Craigie, has applied a little different way of redoing assessments, especially on the industrial and commercial side, than has our prior Cook County assessor. So we see that residential value is increasing, as it typically does on a triennial reassessment, because it only happens every 3 years. This year it's estimated to be 14.93%. The industrial commercial values are going up much higher at 84%. So this is a radical change, which will bring the total EAV in Leiden Township on average up 52.39%. So what does this mean for a taxpayer? So for residential owners in Schiller Park, that means that the tax burden is going to shift more onto the industrial commercial properties than the residents, by virtue of the fact that residential properties are increasing only at 14.93% and industrial commercial properties are increasing at 84.05%. However, Schiller Park itself, the village of, most of the commercial properties are in a TIF. So that means that those increases will go into the TIF, which should help them pay down, whatever funds they need in the TIF sooner. But really for Schiller Park taxpayers, you pay into more than just the Village of Schiller Park and School District 81. You also pay into Leiden Township High School, Cook County, the Forest Preserve, and Park District's many other taxing bodies. For those taxing bodies that cover more than just the Village of Schiller Park, those districts will have residential and commercial that is not captured in a TIF. Those increases in that portion of the EAV will lower their tax rates also, shifting the burden from the residential taxpayers more to industrial and commercial. So that is going to be a net benefit for Schiller Park taxpayers. Page 6 discusses a relationship between the equalized assessed value of the school district and the tax rate. So if we look at the left side of the page, we look at the most recently known 2018 tax levy. It's $330,771,408. And based on that, the expected tax increase for the bonds is 42 cents, as we showed in the prior pages. When we have a triennial reassessment, if we assume that the EAV goes up simply by the amount of the residential tax increase, the equalized assessed value will go up 14.93% to $380,155,579. We still only need to generate the $1,390,000 for paying off bonds as shown on the previous slides. So because we're able to access a more valuable equalized assessed valuation, the tax rate to generate those same dollars is going to go down. In this case, down to 37 cents. So it's not going to be the triennial reassessment of 14.93% increase on taxpayers plus the 3.4%, quite the opposite. The tax rate going down is going to offset the EAV going up because the district is tax capped and can only levy CPI, and the bond amount is not going to change. So the tax rate needed to generate those same dollars is going to go down. In this case, down to 37 cents. The next page looks at a comparison of what we know now with regard to the EAV and property values on the left-hand side of the page that we reviewed a few minutes ago, the annual impact of the 30 million bonds and the estimated average monthly property tax impact under current conditions. And then we're estimating what this would be like if every resident in the district was reassessed by a 14.93% increase. So you see, if you look under the property market value with a 14.93 reassessment, we show the $200,000 homes now up to $229,860, the 14.9% increase. And the same goes for each of these homes all the way through the $400,000 home, which is now $459,720. The property tax increase for the 30 million bond issue is very similar. It's a little bit higher, anywhere from $5 to $8 for the $200,000 home on an annual basis, simply because the homeowner deduction is a fixed amount, that $10,000 homeowner deduction. So that part of the formula does not translate proportionally. But you can see the tax impact is on a monthly basis is really pretty much identical to what it is without the triennial reassessment. So the point here is that even with the triennial reassessment, your tax increase due to these bonds is only going to be 3.4% over what you paid in property taxes last year. I will mention that the triennial increase may impact some property owners differently than others. So for example, if you put an addition on your house, your assessment will go up more than the 14.93%. And if you object to your assessment through the PTAB process and get a reduction based on comparable values, you may not sustain the full 14.93% increase as a residential property owner. So those differences will occur, but this example shows if you sustain the triennial increase of 14.93%, similar to what the Cook County Assessor has predicted, the impact from these bonds will not be substantially different. Again, the first impact of these bonds will be in fall of 2021, and the payback is 27 years. The last page looks at a tax calculator. We are estimating this based on the amount of taxes you paid, any homeowner paid, in 2019. So this will be on the district's website, and what you do is simply enter in the amount of taxes paid in 2019, and the tax calculator will spit out what your estimated tax rate increase due to the 30 million bond issue would be. And in this case, we're showing, based on that former slide, the median home value according to Zillow of $209,100. That homeowner paid $6,386 of taxes last year, and their increase from these bonds will be about $215. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to hearing more of your questions.